So we completed up to auto posting and auto reversal. We'll pick the topic called as budget. So with budget, we can set certain controls. That means you may set the control saying that beyond certain limit, so and so expense are not allowed in so and so period, or else you can say you want to set some budget for so and so account in so and so period, certain limit you can set as a budget, but still you may allow the uh, users to spend the expense more than that. So you may set the restriction, or else you will create the budget. Even but if somebody is trying to book the expense more than budgeted amount, you you may allow. That we call as advisory. We'll get into when we get into the system. We'll see. But here, when you talk about budget, just we are going to set some boundaries in terms of spending the expenses within certain period for few accounts. Your criteria is period, in which period, for which account, what is the amount limit. These are the three parameters: which period, which account, what is the amount is allowed to spend expenses. So this is the rule we are going to set. What type of budgetary controls we have, we'll discuss when you create the budget in the system. So what setups we have to perform to implement the budget concept in the system? What setups we have to perform? So for which primer ledger we are going to implement the budget concept, the primer ledger level, we have to enable the budgetary control. Here, when you say budgetary control, budget control is nothing but budget. With the budget, we can implement the control in the system. That is reason we are calling as a budgetary control, or whenever you see the term called as budgetary control, it is nothing but budget. Say enable budgetary control at primary ledger. When I say budgetary control, we are enabling the budget functionality for our primary ledger. Then create budget. The budget we are calling as control budget, since it is going to control the expense whatever we incur. We can call as create control budget. And we need to assign the roles to the user. To if you are going to prepare budget data, and we need additional roles. Even you have access to system as application implementation consultant role, those privileges are not enough to perform few additional activity. That is the reason we have to assign budget roles to user. You can take as assign budget roles to user. To the same roles, we have to assign our control budget. We have to assign our budget to the same roles. Assign budget to budget roles. We have to assign the budget to budget related roles. Hence, we are going to allow the users to have access to which budget. After assigning, open the budget periods. Okay, same as our GLAP here. For budget also we have periods. Open those periods. Open budget periods. Okay, open budget periods. And we have to prepare the budget data by using the spreadsheet. We prepare the data by using spreadsheet, like in which period for which account, what is the limit you want to spend. That we call as prepare budget data. Okay, prepare budget data. So these are the setups. Once we're done with the setups, we'll pass one journal and we'll test it how it works. So first we'll go and create. We'll go and enable budgetary control at our primary ledger level. Go to our primary ledger. So task is manage budgetary controls. Okay, task is manage budgetary controls. Here, select our primary ledger. So here is our primary ledger, Alt I and C, US primary ledger. Select our primary ledger and click on edit. So enable budgetary control. Okay, enable budgetary control and control budget what level you want to set. If you are implementing the project's application, you can select accordingly. So keep it as ledger only. And you may create budget which can be used in the project, only projects application, PPM. Or else budget what you create, you may use in the our GL or projects. How you require, you can set. Ideally, you can set ledger only. And here, scroll little down. Enable the same budgetary control for our business unit also. Not only within the GL, if you are going to create the record the expenses within the payables also, this should be applicable. So enable budgetary control for our business unit also. Okay. So we are enabling budgetary control for our ledger mandatory. And do you want to enable for your business unit or not? You can take decision. And where system has to enable the budgetary control, where this budgetary control should be enforced, you can specify the transactions. Okay, which transactions those you can specify. So just enable this and say save and close.
Lakshman, what is this enable encumbrance accounting?
Encumbrance means when you create the requisitions, purchase orders, if you want to create accounting for this reserved funds, for example, you created budget, for say, you created budget with a 10,000 for one account. Now you created purchase requisition. Yep, purchase requisition with 2,000. And you created another PO maybe with 5,000. Let's say 8,000. Now what is your budget amount?
10,000.
10,000. You created one purchase requisition, you created one purchase order. How much what is the total value? 10,000, right?
Yes.
If you want to reserve this 10,000 from this amount, or else you make it as 4,000. Now total 6,000. Now your budget will be like 10,000 only. Now somebody will book the expense. Okay. So this you did 2 days ago, for example. Even you record this too, your budget will appear as a 10,000. That is not true, right?
Yes.
So whenever you book this purchase requisition, purchase orders, you want to reserve this 6,000 from this 10,000. Means system should make as minus 6. Remaining amount, available amount is 4. Now anyone can book the expense up to 4,000. Right?
Yes.
If you enable reserve for encumbrance, then this will happen. In the purchase requisition, purchase order creation time, if you book any expense against the budget accounts, that amount will be reserved for future usage. If it is not reserved, what will happen? It will appear as a 10,000. I may book the journal, I may book the transaction with 10,000. I may book the expense 10,000 and maybe just I'll pay. Then what about these purchase orders, requisitions will be slowly converted into actual expense. By the time budget amount will be zero.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So if you enable that, so that funds will reserve under that encumbrance account, right?
Exactly. From procurement side, we have to complete the relevant additional configurations.
Oh, this can be used only in procurement side or even payables also can.
Only just here. Only purchase requisition PO. Anyway, for invoice and all, accounting would be there. If you enable this reserve for encumbrance, for purchase requisition PO also, system will create the encumbrance accounting entries to reserve that amounts from the budget.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
That's
Lakshman, in that case, doesn't it make sense to always enable encumbrance whenever we are using budget? Like why
No,
organizations
it's
wouldn't use
not.
that?
Yeah, it is not kind of mandatory. If they want to do like that, they can do it. Ideally, why they do so, so when they are closing the books, okay, they cannot say we have our future expense also. If they go with the reserve for encumbrance, in the reporting point of view also, they can claim, saying that these are going to be my future expenses. Okay, if you are not reserving the, I mean, if you are not reserving the budget amounts at the time of purchase requisition, purchase order, you cannot claim also when you are reporting to the government. Okay, you cannot create the provisions in your book saying that in future I am going to spend this much money. Instead of that, you can show that accounting information. Okay, purchase requisition 2000, purchase order 2000. This is accounting we did. Okay, this is what we are going to spend in the future. Now itself, I want to claim because already recorded in my books. It's going to be my future expense for the company. For that point of view, to take the advantage from the tax, like what are the tax we have to pay to the government. When you are paying the tax to the government, even you are maybe at the stage of purchase requisition, purchase order, you will be able to claim. So for that reason, some companies will use.
This is, yeah, definitely beneficial. I'm just trying to understand why companies are not using it, which are not using it.
No. Few companies are using, few companies are not using. Okay, so that's how it is.
Thank you so much.
Just try to understand that that is a point we have to understand. But from finance side, there is nothing to do that. Even if you enable, you cannot achieve. Like the configuration all should be done from procurement side. It's a procurement related functionality. Fine. So we enable budgetary control at our ledger level. Now we'll go and create control budget. So you just save and close. Search for control budget. Here is the task. Manage control budgets. Click on manage control budgets and click on create. You can name it as Alt INC budget. You mean write it as a control budget, not required budget. So budget calendar. Okay. So you can create separate calendar or else you can use our accounting calendar itself. Let's use our accounting calendar. So Alt INC is our accounting calendar and you want to create the budget for which period. Ideally, we create for entire year. So select Jan 24 to December 24. And source budget type. Here, if you are bringing that budget definition, because Oracle is providing inbuilt integration with the EPMI application or Hyperion. Hyperion is the older version. Later, the Oracle just came up with the EPM and all. If you are bringing that budget information from these EPM or Hyperion or from other sources, accordingly you can select. If you are creating the budget directly within the our application, you select as a other. If you are bringing the budget from other application, you don't need to select. In that case, automatically budget will be defined here based on the integration. If you are creating through manual process, you select source budget type as other. It is not coming from any other applications, other sources. Directly we are creating, make it as other. And you want to define the budget in which currency select. And even you are not going to create the budget in the different currency, the rate specification is mandatory, set as a rate type as corporate and control level. So what control you want to set? See here, we have a different controls. If I select absolute, if whatever the budget is set, everybody should spend within the budget limits. We cannot spend more than that amount. Okay. So if I set some kind of maintenance charges or some other expense, certain amount like 10,000, system will allow to spend up to 10,000. Okay, we cannot spend more than 10,000. That means system is not going to allow anyone to book the expense more than budgeted amounts. Everything should be within the scope of the budgeted amount. If you set advisory, you may set budget for specific account in particular period 10,000. User can spend more than 10,000. When user will try to spend more than 10,000, system will give the advice saying that you are crossing the budget limit. User can listen and can stop, or else user can ignore and proceed. Just it's advice from system. We will set the budget. Users may follow, may not follow the budget limits if you set advisory. By seeing the message saying that you are crossing the limit, they can stop, or else they may proceed. Okay. So beyond the budget limits also, users will be able to set, users will be able to spend the expenses. If you set track means very simple. You will set up the budget, but no controls, no messages to the system. But why you are why you are creating the budget? To understand what you budgeted, what really you spent, just to know, to track how much you budgeted, what is the actuals against the same account in the same period. If you want to analyze that, you can use the track. So based on the just what are the experience you get, how much you budgeted, how much you spent, you may take the better decisions for your next budgets which you create. For that information, nowhere system is going to enforce the control here. Only control will be the 100% control will be in case of absolute. So this is kind of control, but users can go beyond that and they can book the expenses. And track means just for information. You create budget and start spending the expenses. System is not going to come up with any controls, and you will be able to analyze what you budgeted and how much you spent. Just for information analysis purpose, we can use the track. We'll set absolute. Okay, set absolute, and you are going to implement this budget for which ledger. Select our ledger. For which ledgers that budgetary control enable, those ledgers only you can see. Here you are able to see few ledgers. Just because of for all these ledgers, budgetary control checkbox is enabled. Otherwise, you don't see here. So here is our primary ledger. Select Alt INC. And who is looking after this budget? Select that person as a budget manager. So select our user Alt INC. Alt INC is going to look after this budget. And when you define the budget, you can create the budget structure. Okay, you want to set, you may not set the budget for all the segments. You may set the budget, the company and account wise. In this company, for this account, this much budget I am going to allocate. We don't bother about any value, the values which are going to be selected for remaining segments, or else your budget may be company, department, and account that you can define. You no need to follow the same chart of account structure related all the segments to define the budget. You can set the budget how you need. So select budget segments. Say I'm selecting company. I'm selecting cost center. I'm selecting account. Only for these three segments I want to set When business users are going to record the transactions, system will look at these three segments and remaining segments even entered. Budget point of view, system is not going to consider any information. So select budget segments so that whenever we are going to set the budget also we are going to set for these three segments. Other segments we are not going to consider for budgeting purpose. In terms of recording the transaction, yes, those will take into consideration. And to apply the same for your business unit level also, go to supplemental rules. Just click on add plus icon. It will take us to another page. Say Alt INC BU. You can just apply these rules for specific business unit. If you don't select any BU, it will be applicable for all the BUs within your primary ledger. And here also, so ledger level we give an absolute. What about this BU level? BU level also you can set the different control. Go with absolute only. Okay. Now we can see only those three segments, budget segments. Do you want to set the budget for all the company values or specific? If it is specific, you select what are those. Okay, here you can select. You can select one by one, maybe 1,000, 2,000 only or all. How you need, you can select. Now we'll go with all. The same way, companies, cost centers, accounts, you can just go with all or specific. Okay, as per requirement, you can select these values. So in case of accounts, definitely we will be choosing, okay, companies all may be okay, department cost centers all may be okay, but accounts all we never set budget. We'll be setting the budget for expense accounts. Okay, expense account, what accounts you treat as a budget accounts, those accounts only we have to select here. Okay, so we have to just select which accounts and all will be selecting. That's how you will be mapping here. So here just make it. And another points, transaction attributes filter also, like which sources, for example, which journal sources budget should be applicable, and which category and which natural account types and all you can specify. Here, instead of here filtering each and every account, if you want to set for all the expenses, go to natural account types. There you specify where you want to apply the budget. Okay, so by default it is all. Okay, by default it is all for all budgetary control will be applicable, and you can just select only, I mean, for what you want to define the budget, that you can select. Remaining all it may not be required. You can select only expense related account type. See, natural account type only for expenses. The budget should be applicable. You can specify. Remaining you can remove. How you want to, for which accounts, which category, which classification of accounts you want to set budget, you can specify. Okay, by default it will take all. You can just change how you want to maintain this. So this is how you can specify. Let it be all. Okay, you can specify the same way journal source and the journal sources also you can specify which source journals this budgetary control should be applicable. You can specify default all. If you want to change, you can change it. Just say okay. That's how you can specify. Now the status you can see not ready for use. What you can do is go to actions, say prepare for use. Say yes. This is how this definition would be available for us. It will update the status to in use. The status should turn into in use. So close it and reopen. So it will update the status. Yeah, see now. In use, this is the expected status. In some instances, if you once you define your budget, it won't display this budget definition here. You don't need to worry about it. So define and click on that action called as prepare for use. Automatically will turn into status called as in use only. Okay, just done. If you are not able to see your record after completing, no need to worry about it. Some instances, test instances, it may show, may not show, but follow this process. Now assign budget roles to user. Okay, budget roles to user. With those roles only, you'll be able to just perform the actions like opening budget periods and preparing budget data, and to that roles only you have to assign your budget. Otherwise, you cannot access the budget whatever we created just now. Okay, to assign the roles to user, go to security console. Tools, security console. Users, or username is alt inc. Now, which roles we have to assign? You search with the term called as budget. You can see the roles like so budget manager, preparer, and analyst kind of roles. Say budget manager. Always prefer to choose which are starting with ORA in the role code. Budget manager. One second. Yeah. Budget manager. That is taking copy. Any chance these are assigned? How come these are assigned? We never assigned. I'm just removing this. We didn't assign, right? Maybe not sure how it got assigned. Yeah, that's fine. Save and close. Right now go to edit. Assign. Budget manager role. So here, if you find two roles, two definitions, choose which is starting with ORA. Assign. Okay. And just let's make a note of this role. The spreadsheet for reference. The next role is budget preparer role. Manager role and preparer or a assign. Just make a note. And one more role is analyst role. Analyst assign. Just note down. Say save and close. Now for these three roles, we have to assign the budget, whatever we created. To assign our budget to these three roles, go to task called as data access for users. Manage data access for users. Click on manage data access for users. Click on plus icon. The username is alt inc. Select budget role and list. Contest is control budget. We created budget, that is nothing but control budget. Name is alt inc budget. Say alt inc. Select budget manager, control budget, alt inc budget. budget preparer. Control budget. Alt INC budget. So save and close. Then submit for synchronization. Done. Now the next task is we have to open the budget pages. Okay. These budget roles sometimes takes time to get synchronized. Not like other roles, it takes some time. So in some instances, it may quickly those can get synchronized, or else you may have to wait for 5 to 10 minutes. Also depends. Okay, so we'll see what is going to happen in this. We submitted LDAP. I'll just sign out and sign in before we go and check. Now go to navigator. Within the navigator, or here you can see budgetary control. Okay, expand budgetary control. Now click on budgetary control task. Okay. If everything is synchronized, it will work properly. Otherwise, you have to wait. Just click on the task panel. What we are going to do, we are going to open the periods. Here is the task. Budget period status. Click on budget period statuses. Now here is our budget. We are able to access to our budget. Click on budget name. Okay. So Jan to December, all the periods. For all these periods, ideally you have to one time we set the budget. So here you can select update from available for budget to open for this. Directly for all like mass action we are going to perform at a time, it will update the status to open from available. Select all period status is turned into open. Now say save and close. That's all. We opened all the periods so that we'll be able to set up the budget for all those periods. Done. Now prepare budget data. Where you can prepare the budget data, we can prepare the budget data within the spreadsheet. That information you can load into the system. Now go to task pan, and here is the task to set up the budget data. You can prepare the budget data within the spreadsheet. This is again ADFDA functionality. Okay, ADFDA functionality. Click on the same task. So budgetary entry classification, say we are creating initial budget. You can create the different revisions. You created budget, again you did some changes, you can revisions you can do, but just we are creating initial budget. And control budget name, just for which budget we are going to prepare the data. Alt INC budget. And as per this budget, start month and last, first and last complete period range it is selecting. Everything you can just accept. Here enter budget amounts as say new. If you want to increase the amounts, you can use the addition. Now we are going to create the new budget. Select these parameters, click on create spreadsheet. Okay, so the budget usage automatically system is taking as a budgetary control validations, and initial budget and budget name we are selecting. The budget we are defining for which period range we are giving this name, and all system will take. You can just accept and select as it's going to be new budget. If it is already existing budget, you can add amounts. You can increase or decrease. It's new budget. Click on create spreadsheet. Open the spreadsheet. and click on enable editing. Click on enable editing and say correct. Provide login credentials. Alt ILC. Sign in. Click on skip. Fine. Okay, sheet is ready. Now here we can enter the data. If you notice, we have only three segments here. So that's how we defined our budget structure. We selected only three segments as a budget segments. So budgetary control will be applicable with these combinations only whatever you enter here. So now here, double click, just double click and select the account code combination. Account code combination across this company, cost center under account. This company, and say we are setting for finance Luch account. Want to implement budgetary control that to absolute, right? So for which account that you can specify. It's a very small view. Search to find out your expense accounts. Okay, so you can choose whatever you want to use. Well, let's use internet expenses. Some other account. Say small tools expenses. Say okay.
Lakshman, here in this sheet, the first row says budget usage as budgetary control validation, and the last row says that not applicable for budgetary control validation. What does this mean? It's something contradictory.
1 second. Budgetary control validation, budget usage, and scenario not applicable. Scenario is different. Scenario is not applicable for this. We'll see that values you can understand. Okay, scenario is different. Usage is different. Scenario is different. Both are same. Then you can see that. Okay. Usage point of view, this is budget. Scenario point of view is that this different. Scenario is not applicable for this same. Okay. Scenario is not applicable in this same. We'll see those values you can understand.
Okay.
Say okay. Now here you can specify the limits. Say I'm giving $10,000. So I want to give 10,000 for each period. Okay, 10,000 for each period. So this is how you can specify, like for which period, what is the budget limit for this specific account. Specific account you specify. Now go to enter budget amounts and submit. Say okay. Say okay. Now this data will be loaded into our application. So here you can go and see the review budgetary control balances. Go to this task. So whatever we loaded, we'll be able to see from here. You select period range from Jan to December, or a specific period also you can select. And you select all companies. With which companies we have budget, that data only you can see. Pick as all companies available, all the budget definitions, it will display everything, select as all. Whatever available, it will display. So click on search. Okay. 1 second, I think it's not yet loaded. Select as all, so it should fetch all those. Yeah, it is showing for Jan. Now it will show for remaining periods also. You select October or up to December, it will show. Earlier it was not loaded, it was in the load process. So this is how we define the budget. You can see for each period. If you select up to December, yes, it will display. We'll make it as December. So Jan to December we created budget. The total budget is like each period how much amount. So anything we spend, no expenditure, not at incurred. You can see funds availability is same. Whatever we budgeted, the same is available. And the funds available percentage is 100%. Okay. So done. Now we'll just go and book some expense. Okay, you can book the expense from the payables application, or you can book the expense from the GL application. So go to general accounting journals. Say B1, since we are testing budget concept, I'm giving as a B as a name, budget journal. So select any one of the category. So company, this is with this we have budget. With this cost center we have budget. Account. So we selected small tools expenses. For this account only we created budget. Rest anything you can select. System is not going to consider for budget purpose because we define budget for 3 periods or 3 segments. So say okay. $15,000 I'm entering. So credit line you can pick any random account code combination. That's fine. Right. Now save it. Complete. Post it. When you submit for posting, then the fund check will come into the picture. Okay, the fund status system will update, just saying that whether failed or passed. We have a budget for February month with this account code combination for this company, department, and this small tools expenses limit we given only 10, but we are trying to book the expense 15,000, that to the control is absolute. Click on post. Say okay. Just wait for a moment, it will update the status. Refresh. So fund status is failed. Okay, you click on the failed status because non-insufficient funds. We don't have funds. Insufficient funds. You cannot spend 50. If you want to increase, you can increase the funds also.
Lakshman, a quick question.
Yeah.
Would it not be discovered or identified at the time of saving the journal itself?
No. Because the save action cannot go and check in all these streams of check. You have to submit the posting. It will, when you click on the post, it will trigger the posting program. The program can go and cross check first whether budget is applicable or not applicable. Then funds are available or not. This is how it will do. Your save action is not going to attempt fund check. Okay, only post action. Only post action. Fine. So now two options we have. One is we can reduce this amount. Other option is we can increase the budget to 50. Okay. If you want to increase, how you can increase? Now we'll keep as it is. Okay. I want to post 15. With the 15, I want to post. I can increase. How to increase? Now anyway, this journal is saved B1. So saved. Now just cancel to close this page. I want to increase budget amounts. Go to budgetary control. Enter budgets in spreadsheet. Already spreadsheet is open, you close it. Okay. And select initial only. Just we are going to add, select your budget name. And here you have to select additions, okay, or subtractions also. See, now we created budget with the 10. If you want to decrease, you can decrease. Just enter the negative amount for the same code combination for specific period. Okay, so that's how it works. Yeah, somebody mentioned scenarios here. So for budget validation, the scenarios are not applicable, that's it. Okay, so these are all related to kind of S-base related cube. S-base will, when we deal with that, there will be some dimension called a scenario that they are directly defaulting, but ideally for this, it is not applicable. That is the meaning when you create FRS reports, you will see what are the scenario. Scenario means it could be budget or actual or a different values Oracle is providing. There you will see. For this, it is not applicable. They are mentioning. Even they can hide this. Now select addition to. Additions we are doing. We are not going to subtract. Click on create spreadsheet. Open the spreadsheet. Now only we want to increase the funds for current month. Connect. Okay. So just double click. Select account code combination. account is small tools expenses. Search, there should be code combination with this, yes, say okay. Say okay. Now for Feb, we want to increase with the 10. Our total will become 20. Already we have a 10, now we are increasing 10. Or else for Feb, already you have a 10, you want to make it 9 only. Here you can enter minus 1000. That means you are reducing the budget. So this is how you have to enter. Let's increase it by 10,000. Go to enter budget, submit. Okay, say okay. Now go back to the same journal which we created with the 15. Now the total budget would be 20. We'll be able to pass the fund check. Here you can see the same 50. The budgetary control could be complete for this batch. You can review and I'll just open this. Okay, the actions, click on the journal batch name. Now again click on post. Now the fund check will pass. Okay, fund status, it will be passed. Wait for a moment, it will update the status. Refresh. Now see, passed, funds reserved, journal also posted. Still you have 5,000. I mean, for like you have $5 more in the same account.
Lakshman, one question.
Yeah.
The budgetary checking, this is period to date. How we will make it year to date, YTD?
Okay, budget. Then what you can do is you selected calendar, right? Our accounting calendar you selected, right?
Yeah.
So instead of accounting calendar, you create accounting calendar with a year. That's it. That you choose in our budget.
Okay.
See, search for budget calendar. It will take us to our accounting calendar page only. Manage budget calendars. It will take us to account calendar. Now create one calendar with a year.
Mhm.
Alt INC. Budget purpose we are creating. Now what you can do is enable the checkbox.
Yeah.
Budgetary control only. This is only for budget purpose. Then you can give number of periods. How many periods? One only. Right? Yearly budget. Year you want to take as a budget, right?
Mhm.
Then take start date. Okay, next. Right. This you can the period name you can change to 2024. Here give end. First. Save it. Okay. Add budget year. Next year it will add.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is our second budget year 2. Here also name it as 2025. So 31st. Now go to budget. Okay, go to your control budget definition.
Mhm.
Create your select your budget calendar as whatever you created with year. Alt IRC budget. From and to same 24 to 24. Clear?
Yeah, yeah.
This is how you can create. That would be only 1 year, like total year. Like instead of if you don't want to go with a monthly, yeah, create separate budget by using the budget calendar. Then you can create. Everything will be creating for the entire year.
Lakshmi, can we give the tolerance instead of having a budget or something?
Yeah,
Can we
yeah.
give?
Tolerance means, yeah, tolerance. What we have here is you are giving budget limit, right? 10,000 we given, right?
Mhm.
If you give tolerance as a 10%, okay, what
Exactly.
system will do is even you are spending 10% extra, it will accept. Okay, tolerance, I'll give 10%. Now budget we defined with the 10,000, right? For each period.
Yeah.
User
Makes
will
sense.
spend 11,000. Tolerance is 10% is allowed, it will accept, even absolute. Or else you can give tolerance amount as maybe 500. Okay, so 10,000 user is allowed in the specific period. If user is entering 10,400 allowed, 10,500 also allowed, 10,600 is not allowed. Budget amount plus extra 500 is allowed.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's how you can just take additional mileage.
So, Lakshman, now if we go to check the budgetary control balances and we have created the journal, so that would be shown in the
Yeah, it
expenses,
will
right?
reflect. It will reflect. Yeah, we'll go and see that. It will reflect there. So go to budgetary control. So review budgetary control, balances, or you can go to transactions also. Anything is fine. Select Jan 2, December 24. All companies, all cost centers, all accounts. Now you could see here. You spent 15,000. Total how much budget? 20.
20.
Right? Remaining all periods, 10 only. Yeah.
Yeah.
This will reflect. Whatever you do, it will reflect here. Now what we'll do is we'll just go on to disable this. Otherwise, for every transaction, what are the use cases we are going to test? Everywhere it will be reflecting. So we'll just go on to disable the budgetary control at our ledger level. Go to manage budgetary controls. Find your primary ledger. Here is our primary ledger. Select record, click on edit, and directly you cannot disable here. You have to start from the BU. So scroll little down. First disable at BU level and say OK. Now it will allow you to disable at your primary ledger level. Just save and close. When you are testing, you can do this. No issues. Just when you are testing other concepts, every time system will look for budgetary control and maybe applicable, may not be applicable, but system will perform that action. So once you test, you disable so that rest of concepts which you are going to test, it will go smooth. Yep. So that's what. Another point is, I think approvals we tested from AP side, but anyway, we'll test from GL. So yes, approvals we tested. We tested approval group and employee supervisory. So here, just to understand what setups we have to do, like how to write the rules, we are very sure. But anyway, what setups required if you want to implement the approvals within the GL to understand as well as. So to trigger the approvals for journals, we'll test it. Right, we'll just pick that topic. Journal approvals. So what setups we have to perform to implement these approvals? So first, for which ledger, okay, for which ledger you want to implement these journal approvals, we have to set, okay. So from which ledger, like for which ledger you want to implement, you have to set. The other point we can say, within the GL, you can have a journals from the different sources. Maybe the journals which you created within the GL, or maybe the journals might be coming from third-party applications or from our subledger applications. So that you have to make it very clear. So which is source journals you want to set, or else let me write so that we can proceed. Yeah. Fine. So first what we have to do, just we have to enable journal approvals for our ledger. Okay. So enable journal approvals at ledger. And for which source related journals you need approvals. Say for example, data is coming from AP. I don't need approvals. If any approvals required, approvals for the invoices and everything can be managed in the payables itself. Data may come from receivables. You may not require any approvals for the receivables related data. But the journals which you are creating in the GL, maybe you just directly you are creating within the GL, approvals may be required. So which is sources you need these journal approvals that you have to set at source level. Just let's take the point as enable journal approvals at journal sources. For which is source journals approvals should be applicable, you have to define. Now for our testing purpose, we'll create approval group, or else you can go with employee supervisor, or directly you can give specific resource name also without creating the approval group. Anything is fine. And we'll create the approval group. Create approval rule. So these are the setups we have to perform. Okay. After completing this, we'll create the journal and we'll test.
There may be a situation that based on the, even if you create a manual journal, based on the amount, you can create approval, right?
Based on the
Manual journal entry, anything more than $10,000, it needs to be approved.
correct. In the rule, you can specify that. The rule you can specify. Okay. But source level, you have to specify. First, you have to give it source. If you don't specify journal approvals are applicable for journal source, you may write the rule, nothing will work. Okay. It won't work. Here you have to specify journal source, which is source journals, these should be applicable, you have to specify. Then write the rule how you require. Okay. So this is mandatory, you have to set. And you can write like what are the different attributes you have, accordingly you can write your rules. We'll go and see the system. First enable it, your primary ledger level. Go to ledger options. Specify ledger options, Alt I and C. Yes, this is our primary ledger. So here, if you scroll little down, you can see enable journal approval. Enable the checkbox. So the same message, you have to create the approval rules within the BPM. Yes, we are going to do that. Say, save and close. Now to navigate to BPM, directly you can go with this bell icon and all, or else you can use the task called as approval groups. So first we'll create the approval group. Without group also, directly you can point to whom that journal approval should be routed also. So we can do that, or else directly create one approval group. Say Alt I and C GL journals. Add members. I want to route these approvals for Alt I and C only. Save it. Now to write the rules, go to workflows, task configuration. search with the fin, all the finance related approvals, or else fin, or you can directly type GL. Fin F capital, GL G capital, else lowercase search. This is the workflow we have to use. Fin GL journal approval is the workflow name, or you can say task name. Here, task to be configured. This you can treat as a task. Reality is a workflow. They are giving the name as a task, or say workflow task. Now click on edit. Go to assignees. Okay, multiple nodes, stages are there. So I'm just ignoring if anything is already enabled, any other nodes. I'll just enable this node. I'll use this node for approval definition. Save and do, commit. Fine. Now we'll go and create the rule. All the nodes are disabled. You can call all these as a nodes or stages. Okay, nodes or stages. Only one stage is enabled. Then click on go to rule. Okay, here there is a one default rule. You can deactivate it. Let's create our own rule. General rule. Say here simple test. You can say some condition, journal amount is more than, or else you can say 1 is 1. Always any journal need to be approved by so and so person. You can set 1 is 1 also as expression, or you can select the parameter as a if journal amount. Okay, journal amount is more than or equal to etc. You can specify. Here I'm giving expression as 1 is 1. Always 1 is 1. Right, always 1 is 1. So when you give this numbers, you have to enable the constant and say okay. Now we are setting the rule if 1 is 1 means always 1 is 1 means always what system has to do we are setting. So go to add approver, select your approval group. So what is our approval group name? Alt IMC GL journals. Okay. Now validate this rule, check status, no validation errors, save it, and deploy, and submit for synchronization. Because our accounting key flex field, you might have used some values also within this rule. That is a system expectation. It will just synchronize any changes related to chart of accounts. It's advised after the synchronization only you start performing any approval related activity. The two setups we completed here, we enabled, but source level we have to go and enable. Approval group we created, rule also we created, and the source level for which is source journals this approval should be applicable. You have to specify that. You can just search for journal sources task. Okay, manage journal sources. You can create journal sources, you can create journal categories, custom, new also. The GL source name is manual. Search for manual source. Click on this record. Required journal approval. Since it's a kind of practice or training instance, just you're already enabled. Otherwise, by default, it would be like this. And if you want to apply journal approvals for GL journals, enable it. And just save and close. In the same way, you may want to set approvals for other application related journals also. Same process you can follow. Tomorrow, if you are bringing the data from third-party application, the third-party application name here, you have to create here as a source. Click on add. You are bringing the data from Workday. You have to create Workday here. Just save one. So this is how you can create the sources. If you want to create the categories also, you can create from source Workday application. You are bringing the different data into our application. One is something loans. Say Workday loans. That is a category they have. And maybe other one is Workday payroll data. So this is how you can create those as a different categories. This is how you can create the new sources and new categories. Fine. We completed these setups. We enabled at ledger level. We enabled. Enabled at source level. Group created. Rule also created, but it's in the synchronization. Okay. Yeah, I think seems to synchronization also completed. Done. Now we'll go and create the journal. So go to journals. So let's create journal. So very simple. The criteria is if journal is belongs to manual source, it should be routed for approval. You see the approval status is marked as required since this ledger level we enable journal approvals are required, but it works based on the rules only. Now here you may select any random account code combination. Any amount. Given irrespective of amount, approvals should work. Post. Once it is approved, then only it can be posted. The journal require approval before it can be posted. So as forwarded to the approval. So this user will get the notification. One place is here. Another section is if you go to general accounting. Here we have a general accounting dashboard. Dashboard, I think journals page itself we have. 1 second. Go to journals. Here. Requiring attention. Okay. For which journals this user attention is required, that system will display. The journals which need to be approved by this user, those will be listed here. Here notification is showing. So this user is the right approver. As per approval group, this user will approve it. So that's how you can just set the approval. So the tomorrow session we will target to complete revaluation, translation, consolidation. Okay, we'll close this. These in the weekend and all these and the rest whatever pending, we'll try to close. Yeah, so we are done for today. Any questions, please?